All right, we're gonna hit the reset button real quick, but you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's with Weekend Gabe, the real Sam Crane, holding us down. Mother's Day weekend. Hit us up on the chat space or on the socials at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe. Drop a Mother's Day story if you like, or just send a shout out to your mom. Either way, it works. Joining us now, a return friend of the show. Well, he's a friend of another show that I was on, but it is a pleasure to welcome Mr. Pope to the show. Good evening, sir. How are you?
What's going on? How you doing? I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, cool. What's happening? What's going on, gentlemen?
Yeah, great. We were just talking a little bit about Mother's Day. Do you have a really cool story about your mom coming through on some Karen woman, superhero? Karen White. I said Karen White.
Man, so many. That's kind of the story of my life, of our lives. My mom is an ordained reverend in the AME church, and so she has always instilled principles and values in us that served for the foundation of who we are. But my father was in and out of prison, habitual felon, and so my mom basically carried us on her back not for the most part. She carried us on her back. And so we've been through the trenches, story after story. Countless of stories that I can think of holding it down and, taking care of everything.
Yeah. That's what I love about like women in general. They're just like the strongest, the strongest people. And we saw that during the during like the lead up to like the election. We saw women leading the forefront for equality, for justice, for fairness,
getting it done.
Yeah, we just seen so many women take the lead on that forefront. Obviously Stacey Abrams is a woman I think of often, who was just like the face of changing the wave of this country. And there's just something about the strength of a woman that us men will never ever understand.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree.
Well, go ahead.
No, without a doubt. Not only just like not only mentally but physically. You feel me?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Listen, I know. No. I know if I talk sideways, my mom and my wife will both whoop my ass. And
indeed. Hey, I'm telling you, I still to this day, and I try to, instill some of these principles in my kids to this day. I'm 35, man, and I don't. And to each his own, but I don't curse in front of my mother. My mother the other day, I was at her crib, and she just asked me to go get some water from out the car, and there was no questions asked. There's never any questions. You ask to be done, and it gets done. I'm 35, right. And I try to tell my kids who may, from time to time, if I ask them to do something, typically it's not the case, but they want to moan, and I tell them, they'll do it. But they want to complain, and I tell them, I say, I'm 35 years old, and I still don't complain to my mother about getting stuff. So stop. I'm 35, and I still act a certain way, and so yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that, because obviously we're going to get into the music here in a little bit, but teaching is something that you do, 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed. 7th next year.
7th next year. Wow. So that I think 5th to like 8th grade is like some of the most opinionated small humans like you'll ever meet in the history of your life. And I used to coach 5th and 6th grade boys, girls basketball. So how do you connect with these kids? How do you build relationships with these kids? They're like halfway to having adult opinions, but they're still very tiny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when I'm teaching, man, they see my passion and they see my genuineness, and they know that at the end of the day, it's beyond academics, right? It's us, in this space trying to grow together and progress together. And so the way that I connect with them is through seriousness. I tell them, like, and I'm stern in that way. Like I'll say, we don't have time to play right now. Let's come here. There's a time and a place for everything. And I tell them I don't want to confine them as well, right? Because kids are impulsive, and kids innately, they're not fit for traditional styles of education in that way. Body sitting down all day at a desk. That's not kids, right? And so I give them that freedom, and I try not to confine them, but tell them, there's a time and a place for all of this. There's a time and a place when we go into the library that we have to act. There are rules and expectation in these different spaces. And so my genuineness, to know that, like, I hear you, I see you, but I'm really at bat for you, and they recognize that. And I think above all, that's what connects with them. Besides the fact that, like, I rap and I flip and I, I'm super relatable to them in that way.
Right.
Yeah, but they are opinionated and they do know everything. But they're humble at the same time. I see a lot of it, especially when we're working on something difficult, a difficult concept or a difficult teaching point. They can be vulnerable in that way and very sensitive too. One student just today, he was crying because he thought he was getting in trouble. And I said, listen, you're not in trouble, but you just have to understand where the other student is coming from, right? And so talking to them on that level, really to let them know that this is a space where we can make mistakes, and that's what it is. I'm not out to get you. I'm not trying to attack you. We're in this space making mistakes together, and we're growing together. And when they see that, it's like, let's go.
Right.
Let's go. It's all good in this room.
Yeah.
It's a safe space.
I like that a lot. Like that a lot.
Well, so we know that you're a fifth grade teacher in public schools. I do want to get to the music, but I do have like a quick question because this past year, not only for everyone going through the pandemic, but for teachers in general, to shift your curriculum from in person to remote online. I've had conversations with teachers who are just like, I'm not prepared to do this. And then you guys made the transition. You guys made it work. You guys show that you can do it. And then to switch back into in person, and just briefly talk about like what the last year of trying to conform to the learning situation that students and families were going through and what that experience was like.
Yeah, definitely. I think foremost, the biggest thing, well, not the biggest thing, I'll say one of the things that I had to reflect on was that they were learning two different things, right? So these are the techies. They're the tech generation. However, they don't utilize technology in a professional or an academic way. They utilize it for leisure and fun. So we're teaching them a whole nother language, teaching them how to create documents, teaching them about toolbars and teaching them about different fonts, teaching them about spacing. And, so we're teaching them how to navigate through Microsoft Word, through Google Classroom, on top of teaching them, for me, teaching them reading informational text or reading literature text. And so that was a shift. The other shift was engagement. Man, it was difficult to get kids engaged, cameras off. And I saw a lot of teachers doing different types of things, but at fifth grade, I think that was the biggest thing for us, because once students got into the building, it shifted. It was go time. And still today, when we're doing something we call simultaneous teaching, where we're teaching in-person students at the same time as remote students, we still have a lack of participation from the remote students. Now, we do have some students who are just have intrinsic motivation, and those students will thrive, right? They don't need to be told to do their work. They get it done, and those students have been thriving remotely. I have a couple of those, but some students needed to get back into the building. And even if it was just to turn in 3 assignments, they needed to get back into the building to start to get something, some type of growth. What else, man? It's so layered. We had an opportunity to really, or parents had an opportunity to really to learn our style, learn how we talk to their children, learn what they deem as acceptable or not acceptable. We had an opportunity to really put the onus on parents and say, look, you all are right here. You can check grades. You can check anything, right? And so there was that contestation as well, because I had some parents who tried to address me about some grades. And I said, well, wait. You're right there. And you know what? The same thing happened to me as a parent. And I'm so transparent with my parents because I am a parent. I'll tell them, like, my daughter was missing a lot of assignments. I had to bite that bullet. That was my fault. I couldn't blame the teacher for that. I sat there right by her while we were able to check all of her assignments, right? And so if she was missing assignments, that was on me. And that's what I had to explain to the parents as well, right? And so we have to stop trying to get into this battle mode, right? And really try to work together because at the end of the day, the children and their growth and development is what's more important than anything. And I don't know any parent that doesn't want their children to do better than they did or have done, right? That's the goal. So
I really like what you said about not getting into battle mode and really, you know, feeling the collaboration. And people need to get more into that mindset because I feel like teachers take a lot of the brunt of that. So, you know, kudos to you for creating an environment that's constructive for these kids.
Yeah, we try to, man, you know, and we go back to the drawing board. It's always constantly reflecting and trying to do things better and seeing what works better, even to this day, you know. So
awesome.
Well, while you're trying to be an awesome parent and teacher, you're also becoming an awesome artist. You have a new EP out there, Who I Am, a self-love project that just came out right in February. So it's fairly new. Talk a little bit about like what went into making this project. Self-love, obviously, we can dive into that, but I think it kind of feels like a self-explanatory usage of words. But talk a little bit about like what you were looking to achieve with this EP.
Yeah. So, you know, as we talked before, I was in the process of creating a project called Analyze Then Educate. And the purpose of Analyze Then Educate was because of cultural representations, right? To look at students, any type of minority groups, right? And to look at them and see what type of messages are being spread into media about them and how that impacts how they interact with each other. Because I think that racism is reproduced in some of those spaces, right? Those spaces where there's a lack of knowledge about people. But then I said, even before people develop these perceptions, I think that if we were to reflect on ourselves and be transparent before anything, if we could work on self, then those interactions really would be, they would be minimal, right? They would subside, decrease, because we would love people more. We would appreciate people more because we're constantly reflecting on self and loving self and realizing that everything that we do should be in love. And so it shifted, the agenda shifted. I said, let me create an album that people can go through and experience and reflect on who they are, reflect on how they interact with other people, how they treat people, and reflect on their progress towards their idea of happipiness, their pursuit of happiness. And so those songs kind of were birthed out of that philosophy.
Word. And you spoke about love there, and I wanted to get into one of my favorite records on the project, which is track 4, Love Me, featuring Kaya Royale, who really hops on that thing with like a SZA vibe. She's got a beautiful singing voice. How did you put together some of the features for this album, man? And how did you link up with her specifically?
Man, so I wouldn't say she's the feature. All of the songs I like to think of me being with artists, right? And so not featuring artists, but it's Mr. Pope with Kaya Royale, Mr. Pope with Polar Bear Triple, and Mr. Pope with Karini LaRue. And so One of the things that I really, really pride myself on is the ability to hear sounds that enhance my sound. So when I hear a voice that I know that can really enhance what I like to do and what I want to do, I really try to jump on it. And so it's crazy because I did this promo through Instagram. I met her on Instagram. She wouldn't even tell me her name, her real name, for a long time until we had to register the song.
Yeah.
But I heard the voice and I was like, yo. And so I actually wanted her to sing on Listen. But she said, I don't feel like, I don't want to sing other people's stuff. So I said, okay, out my agenda and what I'm trying to do. And she was like, okay. Then I said, sis, going to the concept is self-love. She sent the hook and the verse. And so it's really, she really guided this song in that way. I took the end piece and then I took that long verse. And then she did these harmonies at the end, and she was like, "You want to rap on it?" I was like, "No, that's just cool. It's cool just the way it is." I had another verse for the end, but I was like, "Nah. I just like the way that it goes out with her doing that. Those different, yeah, it's really beautiful, man." And that was the, the song is, is really self-explanatory as well. Spend more time with yourself. There's some different advice that's given throughout the song. And so, it's a beautiful piece. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of the standout records.
It's one of the dope. Yeah, it is. It is definitely the top, man. And everybody it's an experience. Yeah, it's an experience. It really is. It puts you in a different vibe and zone, I think.
One of the vibes or zones that I get into when I listen to it is this sort of poetic vibe. You have a very poetic voice. Are you inspired at all by the Chicago poetry scene? Is that something you engage with, or is this just something that's you?
It's just something that's me, man. I think that my influence is really with a lot of 90s rap, right? So I listen to a lot of Twista, Do or Die, Crucial Conflict, Bone Thugs and Harmony, listen to some Pac, but I also listen to a lot of R&B. That's really, I still prefer R&B actually over rap to this day. And so, which is why I tend to go to the more melodic route. And so, yeah, man, it's just like that. It's not really that I'm a part of that scene. It's just, I guess, the influence of R&B being so slow. And when I'm thinking of how I'm writing, I'm playing with rhythm. So I don't follow traditional rap patterns. When I write, because I'm more for the story than I am for the rhyme. And so, but then at the end of the day, I put a lot of literary elements in the writing style. It's crazy, though, especially as an educator, what I'm able to see and know in the writing now through reading lenses. It's crazy. Yeah. So I'm not influenced by the Chicago poet scene, but definitely the Chicago music scene.
Word.
Yeah.
What's interesting, Sam, is that because you like the Loving record and No Dead Dreams, which is the record after it. That's one of my favorite on the EP. And and I was thinking that it's kind of this very I won't say a dark record, but like a very negative record of sorts, trying to evaluate the way we treat each other. And I wonder if, being a professional instructor, that if some of the stories and the things that you're seeing and hearing from students, because I know that you're privy to a lot of sensitive conversations. And I was wondering if that story was something that might have been inspired by something you might have seen or heard from one of your students who was going through a really tough period.
Not necessarily a specific one, but I will tell you that the cover of No Dead Dreams, and it hasn't been released yet. A buddy of mine in Texas drew it. And there was one of my students, and known her life. I know her, and I wanted her to to kind of embody that. And when she heard the song, she was just like, you know, little tears and like, this is me, Mr. Pope. Like, this is my life. And so I chose, I didn't write that with her in mind. I wrote that in general because I know that that's a narrative of a lot of the students that I serve, but like a lot of the students all over the world though, you know, so many of us, they have these different standards they have to compete with. And they then kind of begin to compare themselves in that way, and they want to do things, but people are telling them that they can't. And so, you know, people are telling them who they should be and what they should become. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't be trying to change people, but rather help them find themselves and their voice and who they are. And they shouldn't leave the earth with their dreams that have been unfulfilled, you know? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad there's people like you helping kids move forward and, you know, get them one step closer to reaching their dreams and achieving their goals and helping them get the skills and the tools to get to where they want. So we're all thankful that you're in these classrooms working with our kids because we definitely need more inspiration for our students to see what success could look like for themselves. And I think that there's a lot of different angles of yourself, your professional career inside the classroom and outside that they can look at and be inspired by. So I'm thankful that you're, you know, out there doing the work that you're doing. So I appreciate
Definitely. No doubt, man. I appreciate y'all for really sharing, you know, the platform, you know, giving opportunities, because we know that this type of music isn't popular. It's a different thing. And so I appreciate the spaces where I can begin to talk about the music in that kind of way and motivate and inspire, you know, and bring a different light to the hip hop world in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're welcome back anytime, my friend. You know, new projects,
no doubt. We got some stuff coming, man. It's crazy. Summer's gonna be real nice. This is just the foundation. And then we have some things in the working on some really good music with some really good people that, you know, just haven't had that opportunity to get to those next spaces. But we're treading, man. We're walking and we're building our markets, and people are loving the sound, you know, and they're being changed by the work. So
no, it's a fantastic listen. Who I Am, a self-love project. It's available on Mr. Pope's SoundCloud page right now. We'll put the link out on our social media pages at Weekend Gabe at Gabe's. And also, Mr. Pope is also killing it in the modeling. If you see the photo that they use, like all I'm saying is like that shirt would not fit me, but I'm glad it fits you, because that looks hella tight. But you know, I think those are the benefits and the gains from working out and taking care of yourself.
Man.
But
no doubt. Thank you.
We appreciate you so much, Mr. Pope. Thank you so much for dropping into Weekend at Games on this Friday night. Let us know whenever something new drops, and we'd love to support it.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Gabe and Sam, man. I really appreciate y'all, brother. Thank you so much. Man.
All right,
see y'all soon.
I will do. All right, Mr. Pope here on Weekend at Gabe's with Weekend Gabe and the real Sam Crane. Man, I think that it's like he said, it's not like popular music what he's doing, but it's needed music.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So it's like,
and I liked what he said about it being a foundation for future projects. I hope it heats up this summer, and we'll listen to whatever, man. You know, say we're Weekend at Gabe's. Send us everything you got, and we will invite you on the show.
If it's quality, we'll check it out. Trust me, it's quality.
Absolutely.
But if you're still starting in your career, like I would
if you just started rapping yesterday, don't. Yeah. But if you've been doing this for a while, if you got an inspiring story like Mr. Pope, we want you here and we want you telling your story. It's always great to talk to teachers, man, because you work in education, and it's always good to bounce ideas back and forth, I think.
That's why I was able to like that. I know what teachers deal with. I'm not a teacher, but I know enough. But either way, shout out to Mr. Pope, the new EP, Who I Am, a Self-Love Project. Again, check our social medias. We'll put the link up so you guys can access it.
And if you're watching on YouTube, it is right below the video, so just go check it out.
There you go. Put it into your life.